In this video, I'll show you how to use a dynamic web sketchpad model that lets you explore a wide variety of quadrilaterals, everything from trapezoids and parallelograms to squares and kites. Here along the left edge of my web sketchpad model, I see a list of all the different quadrilaterals that I can build. Well, let's start with the most general one, the plain old quadrilateral. I'll tap its name, and I see a preview of the quadrilateral. Notice that one vertex is glowing. That indicates that I need to place this vertex. I'll just tap anywhere in my sketch to place it. Now notice that the next vertex is glowing. Again, I can tap to place it and the remaining two vertices. And there, my quadrilateral is done. I can now continue to drag any vertex I like, or the quadrilateral interior. To make a new quadrilateral, I'll tap the quadrilateral tool again. This time, rather than place each vertex one by one, I can simply tap the check mark, and my quadrilateral is now complete, and I can drag it as before. Now I can make quadrilaterals of different types all on the same page, or I might want to move from page to page to give myself a little more space. So to move to page 2, I'll come to the bottom right corner here, and I'll tap the right arrow to move to page 2, which starts off and giving me a blank sketch. Now perhaps I'd like to make a parallelogram. I'll tap the parallelogram tool, and I see a preview of my parallelogram I'm about to make. And I could, as before, tap to place each vertex. So here is my completed parallelogram, and I see that I can drag the vertices of my parallelogram and change properties of this quadrilateral, but it always remains a parallelogram. And I can see that in some instances, like here, it looks like my parallelogram has become a rectangle. So I might use the rectangle tool to build a rectangle alongside of it. And I might even challenge somebody to say which of these two quadrilaterals is the parallelogram and which one is always a rectangle. And you can't tell just by looking at the pictures. You actually have to reach in and grab their vertices and drag them to see that this is the genuine rectangle, and this parallelogram is pretending to be a rectangle, but its true self is a parallelogram. Now, we also have two other tools here to aid in our exploration, and these are a length and angle tool. If I click the length tool, I see a preview of a segment and its length. I can tap any of the sides of my quadrilaterals, and here I've just determined that the length of side AB of my parallelogram is 2.94 centimeters. I can now tap to measure the other side, and if I double tap, that keeps the segment, the length tool active. So if I want to measure this length and then this length, notice that I don't have to tap the length tool again. It automatically gave me another segment. And each time it gives me another segment, I can keep on measuring sides of my quadrilaterals. And now that I'm done, I'll just tap X. So here we have lots of side lengths, and notice these values are updated automatically when I drag the vertices of my quadrilaterals. I can also measure the angles of my quadrilaterals using the angle tool. I'll tap angle, and I see a preview of an angle and its measure. So if I want to measure angle CAB, I'll tap in order on C, A, and B. And here I have my measurement. And notice that that measurement is updated when I'm dragging point C, vertex C of my parallelogram. I can also, if I'd like, use the style widget if I want to perhaps change the color of the interior of one of my quadrilaterals. If I tap on the yellow swatch, I can now tap and change the interior of that parallelogram to yellow. I can change the thickness of my the segments here, and I could also even change using the label widget. I could change a vertex and give it a different label. For instance, I could call that vertex J. So there is lots to play with here. Altogether, we have 8 blank pages for you and your students to explore with. If you'd like to play with the model itself, it's contained in my recent blog post, Quadrilateral Pretenders, on the Sign of the Times blog, and you'll find a link to the post right below this video.